All right, everyone. Welcome to the session on Zoom and the top three latest features that you as a presenter can utilize to make, to build, to write, design, and deliver truly effective online presentations. With us is young Keck, who I personally found on YouTube and his channel. And I was simply mind blown by what he was doing, and that's why I decided to reach out to him over LinkedIn. I think it was LinkedIn, and try to invite him to join us for Present to Succeed conference. And magic happened. He agreed to join us today, and I'll leave it here and give the floor to him because he has prepared some magic for us. Jan, take it away.
Thank you so much. And magic indeed, at least that's what I'm attempting to do. So first of all, I need to transport myself into an environment that I'm a little bit more familiar with. So let's see if this works. Hold on, I need to do this again. Here we go. Did it work? Did I get into Zoom? Actually, I don't think so. See, this is what happens when you when you rehearse so much that you forget to hit one important button. Let's try this again. This creates some magic. Here we go. Now I'm in Zoom and we can get started. First of all, if you have been in a Zoom meeting, please type into the chat what have been the most boring types of things that you would associate with Zoom meetings, like the typical boring one that we, after 2 years having gone online in the pandemic, don't really want to participate in anymore. To me, especially if you're presenting information, it usually looks like this. You're stuck in this tiny little square rectangle in the corner. And although your slides might look beautiful and have really awesome information, your participants can't really connect so much with you. And there are some tools in Zoom that I think are really fun and really new. And I'm actually going to share some of those today. For example, let me just find one that is really, really new. Like this, you can now turn yourself into a fox. But when I ask myself, what are the features that actually are the most interesting to talk about in this session, this might not be it, because I don't think turning yourself into a fox will actually create a more engaging experience for your audience, for your participants. So when the pandemic first hit early 2020, I found myself, like so many people, stuck behind a screen. This is what I had to do to still connect with my audience, with my community. And one of the things I used to do before that was I used to host these in-person sessions, and I would create these cell phone sleeping bags. There are these padded envelopes that you can put your cell phone in, and then we can put that away and focus on connecting with each other. Well, when we couldn't meet face-to-face, I had to figure out a way how to use technology. And Zoom was one of the tools that I use now several times a day. There's actually not a lot of time where I'm sitting on my desk and Zoom is not open. So today I want to share with you a couple of things that are really going to help make your presentations more inclusive, engaging, and meaningful. That's kind of the mission that I gave myself, because there are a lot of people who still don't really use a lot of the amazing features that we have on our fingertips. As already said, I do post a lot of these videos on YouTube. So what I'm actually trying to do today is run this like I would a YouTube video. So there will be some hiccups, there will be some tech challenges, but we'll just go with it and see if we can get to the end in the time that we have. So we'll jump right in. And one of the first features I want to share is slides as virtual background. And as I said, when you're stuck in that little square on the side, you don't usually have, your audience is not able to read your facial expressions, see your gestures the same way I'm doing right now. You could have your slides kind of next to you or yourself in the slides. So let me jump into Zoom and we'll set this up. But first, I need to turn this avatar off again. There we go. So to do this, we're going to click share screen, and on the top here, there is this advanced tab. And here there's this feature called slides as virtual background. I'm actually going to set this up, and while we wait for this to load for one moment, you will see that some slides take a little bit longer. Here we go. Now you can see me in the bottom down here, and I can actually move myself around on my slide. So this is a slide that I created for a training that I do, a 5-week cohort, and I can move myself to different places. I can make myself bigger. I can move through the slides. And although this is really cool because now I can be larger, I can integrate, really immerse myself within my slides, there are some things that we have to keep an eye on. First of all, if you are designing your slides and you want to use this feature, make sure that you design them in a way where you don't have to move yourself to a different spot every time you change the slide, because that might get exhausting really quickly. The other thing that you can do with this is you can click that button down here and you can remove yourself from the slides. So you're just going back to traditional screen sharing and you can put yourself back on. There are, again, some things that you want to keep in mind when you use this. First of all, you really need to redesign your slides, as I already said. If you do have a green screen, that's a great thing to use. So it looks a little bit more professional, as with any virtual backgrounds in Zoom. And number 3, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. This is a feature that can easily go wrong, and there are some things you have to keep in your mind when you do that. So that's my first secret that has been around for actually a long time, but I haven't seen a lot of people use it yet. And if you are thinking, well, I really like the idea of putting myself into slides, but I want to do something with my participants. And I actually talk a lot about participants more than I do talk about an audience, because I believe that just doing these one-directional lectures where we just talk at people for an hour or so are not the most engaging experiences anyway. So for this, I'm going to quickly need to turn around and pull up something. I prepared a little something here. Now I do have a green screen, and in Zoom, there is another tool that you can find on the top right corner under View, only if you're the host, that is called Immersive View. And when I click that, we get this little window that we can choose different views. You can be part of this art gallery, you can be in an auditorium, you can do a fireside chat, and all kinds of other really fun things. And because I don't have any participants in the Zoom meeting right now, I added these little avatars here. You can be in the Zoom meeting in this art gallery. You can do something like an interview and host your other participants on the side. You can even attempt to high-five them if you get the timing right and the positioning. You could also upload your own virtual backgrounds. And this is one that I use for an activity where I put like an angel and a demon on my shoulder or on the shoulder of one of the participants, and we just role play different scenarios. So those are a couple things you can do with virtual backgrounds and immersing. Putting that back. Here we go. The next thing, and I know I'm going a little bit fast because I want to share some really cool features with you and hopefully give you an overview. And if you want to go more deeper into any of them, I'm sure there's lots of amazing content on YouTube, even on my channel. But the other big thing that I actually was the most excited about that came out last year were Zoom apps, which is a button down here. Where is it? Right there, called apps. And as you can see, I already have some things open in here. But I'm actually going to close them because we're going to find them again. So one of the cool things that we can do here is we can use all of these third-party apps within Zoom without having to leave and come back. There are a ton of different things from different games, from different whiteboard tools like Mural and Miro. And the one that I actually love using is the timer. And for the timer, if you haven't installed it, you will have to go to the Zoom website first and fill out a couple of permissions before you can use it. And that's actually one of the reasons why I don't usually recommend using that with a session with anyone, because it takes some extra time to set up. But because I have that already installed, I can just click open and now have this fun timer on the side. Currently, this is only visible to me as the host, but if I set this up for, I don't know, 10 seconds, 11 seconds, and click start, as long as I have this checkbox up here, it also appears on my screen. If I want to say, oh, I don't want participants to see it, I can remove it again and then bring it back just when the time is up. And I think there's a lot of use cases where you would want to have a timer if it is for doing an activity that involves journaling, or if you want to do something timed. This is a great way to use a timer. Plus, if you just want to use this on the side, this is a timer that you can just see yourself and kind of time staying on track with your presentation. This is really something to explore. There's a lot of different apps. I want to show you one other one because we talked about virtual backgrounds before. This is another fun one. It actually integrates with Unsplash. So you can literally type in and look for any stock photos that are hosted on there. Let's say, for example, we're going to look for a cat, and then I can put different cats in my background if you are a cat person, by just clicking a quick button. So really quick way to maybe even use virtual backgrounds to tell a little story. If you have your, if you're doing this spontaneously, you can just type something in and find something really quickly. So couple of things to keep in mind when you are using the Zoom apps. You do need the permission from the admin on your Zoom account to enable them. And the very first time it is going to be a bit more labor and time intensive, where you have to jump through a couple of hoops. But once you have it installed, you can very easily use it. Have a backup plan. Sometimes the apps don't work as well as you would want, and maybe that's a good thing to keep in mind with any tech that you're using, being able to have a backup plan. So if things don't work out, you can still continue with your content. And again, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. These apps are something that you don't want to use the very first time, maybe with a large audience or a group that you've never worked with. All right, let's talk about one big problem. One big problem that I see happens so much in virtual sessions, workshops, presentations, and that one is when the host, when you ask a question to the audience, and then all you get is crickets and tumbleweeds because nobody wants to raise their hand. Maybe even everyone has their camera off, and you're not even sure if is anybody listening. If you're using Zoom meetings, where you usually are able to see everyone. So I want to talk about some features that help us do what I call micro engagements. And for this, there is one thing that that we can do that is very easy. Let me just close my my screen again, which is asking for real-time feedback. So this is no fancy tool. This is simply asking your participants to give you a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if this makes sense. Type a yes in the chat if you've learned something new. Actually, let's do this right now. If you are watching this and you've learned something new already, type yes in the chat to let me know. But sometimes people don't have their cameras on, or they want just another way to engage with you. So instead of giving a real thumbs up, we could also use the reactions button that I think everybody is familiar with, and do the virtual thumbs up, right? There are a couple of different reactions that we can do, the hearts, the laughing face, right? Those are not necessarily something new, but here's the part that I found. It has been around for a while, but not a lot of people have found it. which is if you click reactions and then these 3 little dots, you can literally look for any emoji that is in this database. And you can see that there's some frequently used ones that I have. I know Easter is coming up. Maybe I want to put an Easter bunny up there, or I want to find a, what is something that I could find? If the chat was fast enough, I would take some suggestions in the chat. Maybe I'll come back to that. But literally any emoji that is in this database can easily be added up here. And the same thing is actually now true also for the chat. Even in the chat, you now have this little emoji down here, and you can add any of these emojis easily into the chat. So that's just another great way to keep our audiences, our participants engaged. When they don't have their camera on, the chat, all of these reactions are still visible. So I would say if you thought that people needed to have their camera on to be engaged, that's actually not true. I've had the most engaged participants using reactions and the chat very, very actively. I'm going to add some of those chat suggestions as reactions in a moment, but actually let's find one of them right now. I can see, who was it? Gundars was asking for turtle. Yes, we do have a turtle. So as you can see, you can add those very easily. And again, if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, so why should I be doing these micro engagements? Why should I be using a feature like that? Every time you ask your participants to do just a tiny little action, they're more likely to take another action and more likely to take another action. And if you can make it so at the start, you start with something very easy, like give me a thumbs up in the camera, type a yes in the chat. Maybe the next thing is unmute yourself and share something in front of the whole group. And at the end, you have them do a performance, maybe create some kind of theater piece. If you stagger it that way, you're more likely to get more engagement at the end. So with all of that in mind, there are a lot of ways we can engage our participants. There's one last one that I want to share. And for this, I actually am going to open another presentation. And this is the last feature we're going to talk about today. This is also something that has been around for a long time. So I just created a slide with a world map. And there is this annotate button right up here, which when enabled for all the participants will create this bar. They can use these stamp tools and then put a stamp, for example, on this map on where they're located. I just recently moved from Toronto, Canada to near Stuttgart in Germany. There are other things that we can do with annotations. Aside from the stamping, we can do the drawing. This is really a tool that I would recommend you just start playing around with it a little bit. All right. So a lot of, I should remove myself. Like I said, things might go wrong a little bit. As there's so many new features and new things coming in out all the time. Like I showed you the avatars earlier. The question is always, why do you want to use them? And I found this great quote that I actually want to remind you of.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right. So with great power comes great responsibility. So with all these new features, I want you to think about, okay, how can we use these meaningfully? How does this actually create a better experience for our participants, and not just because it's a new cool thing that you want to try out and wow everyone, because that's maybe not in the purpose that you have set for the meeting, for the experience that you're putting together. The second thing is make sure you keep your Zoom updated. If you want to have access to the newest features, you need to make sure you have your Zoom up to date. You now can even set for it to update automatically whenever there's new updates coming out. And lastly, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I really made it my mission to create new videos anytime there is something new coming out, with some tips on how we can actually use it more meaningfully, how we can create some more connections for our participants, and in the end, create something that is inclusive, engaging, and more memorable. I don't know if I have time for questions, but I'm just going to check in and see how we're doing. I've tried my best to stay on time with this.
We are right on time, Jan. We are right on time. I would make sure, like you obviously have put already the YouTube channel. I would be always, everyone, please make sure that you subscribe to Jan's channel on YouTube because it's truly wonderful, and he definitely is the first to publish a video when a new feature is being announced. What's more, Jan, I have just a very quick question for you because I want the audience to hear it. Obviously, one of the ways for them is to, in order for them to know the latest features in Zoom, is to subscribe to the channel because you're going to be very quick in producing a video for them. But what is the way and how do you keep an eye on the latest features? Where do you find this information from?
Yeah, that's a great question. Zoom has a website with release notes. So if you just Google release notes or Zoom release notes, then you can see it kind of written by date. And when they have something that is coming up, they usually put, hey, this is coming out on this day with these new features. So if you, like, there are different websites where you can set reminders when something gets changed on that site. That's what I have set up. And then I get an email and I check it out. And if it is something that is worthwhile, I'll make sure to, on that day, or usually the day after, test it out, try to learn as quickly as I can what works and how it works, and then create a video about it.
Yeah, brilliant. Jan, thank you so much for that. I would say very complicated demo to pull off. There are people that are already asking what is the software that you are using? Is it OBS? Is it something else? So maybe you can jump in the chat and let them know afterwards. But again, thanks for joining. That was great.
Yeah, I'll comment in the chat.
Absolutely. So Jan, thanks for joining again.